Hey, everyone out there with us once again. It's Mark Collinsworth of Vere Global Financial Wealth Management to talk about today's pause by the Feds in the interest rate hikes. No increase today, but there seems to be indications that there may be at least two more by year's end. So, Mark, putting it all together, is that good news or bad news or indifferent news?
I'm going to say it leans slightly towards the bad news. And the reason why is because we've already started to see signs that the economy is slowing and the Fed still wants to keep raising interest rates. And the reason why is because inflation is becoming very, very sticky, meaning it's not coming down as quickly as they expected.
So, therefore, the economy and their estimation is still shaky, still isn't under control. So more interest rate hikes are ahead, fairly definitely.
Correct. Based on what's called the dot plot, that's where all the members of the Federal Reserve get to take a vote or their opinion on where they think interest rates are going to go for between now and the end of the year. The average person on the Federal Reserve Board, according to the dot plot, thinks there should be at least two more rate hikes before the end of the year, with a few members on the Federal Reserve Board actually believing there'll be three rate hikes before the end of the year.
The next meeting is what, in July?
July 25th.
Yeah. Now, how did the markets react today?
Ooh, well, it sold off initially when they saw the dot plot, and then of course Jeremy Powell is normal. He always does this. If the statement that comes out from the Fed is hawkish, he tries to be more dovish to try to balance it out, and that's what you saw today. He tried to sugarcoat a lot of the stuff that was said in the official statement.
So the market dropped initially and then it rebounded pretty much.
Correct. Yep.
Now, in the weeks ahead, the looming rate hike in July and perhaps beyond, will that have any appreciable effect on how the market goes?
Well, the Fed's going to, well, not the Fed, the stock market's going to try to digest and say they're going to get probably two more. A lot of this, the stock market keeps saying that the next rate hike is going to be the last one, but it keeps on going and going and going. And what kind of concerns me is that the economy is slowing. Give you an example. Everyone notices the stock market going up with the big large cap stocks like, the Apples and the Microsofts. Those stocks keep going up and there's a very few handful of stocks going up. But you go and you look at the small caps, the small cap stocks, the up and coming growth companies, which are actually the bedrock of the economy. Those stocks are really, really struggling. The small cap stocks were actually down 1.5% on the day today. So if the economy is doing as well as what the guys on TV are saying, then why are the bedrock stocks of the economy suffering so much?
All right, but of course, the overall plan of the Fed with the rate hikes is to slow the economy, is to cause layoffs and joblessness, correct?
That is correct. The Fed will always raise interest rates until something breaks. And usually that comes down to people losing their jobs, which is technically the last thing to go in the economy.
So, Mark, my favorite question is what's ahead in the next several months or by the end of the year in terms of the economy? What kind of shape are we going to be in?
Well, I think the economy will continue to slow, but what's kind of interesting about this is there's still a lot of excess liquidity left in the economy over from COVID. There's roughly about, I think, somewhere around $5 trillion that has not been pulled back yet. So if the Fed gives any sign that they're actually going to reduce rates, that $5 trillion is basically going to start being reinvested, and that could actually cause the stock market to rally up.
Now, is there some debate among the Fed people, the members of the Fed, as to what caused the inflation, or are they pretty much on board with government spending and other factors, but primarily the government stimulus spending? Is that what they think it was the main thrust for inflation?
It's actually the government spending is actually two parts. Is the government was basically giving out all these checks for people to spend money, which increased your demand for goods. But because people weren't working in factories, that caused the supply of goods to go down. So you had too many dollars chasing too few of goods. So it was a combination of both.
And people were not working in factories because of the COVID shutdowns.
Correct.
All right, so we're getting away from the COVID shutdowns now. So that in itself means more prospects of recovery for the economy.
There should be an increase in the supply of goods on the market. But what's interesting, if you look at the CPI numbers, if you look at the CPI, the headline number which they released has actually been coming down fairly steadily. And historically, government has always backed out what they call core inflation, where they back food prices and gasoline prices out. Because the president has been releasing so much oil through the SPR from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in the economy, gasoline prices have actually been plummeting over the last several months. Ironically, if you take gasoline and back it out of the CPI number, because gasoline has dropped so much, the inflation rate's actually gone up almost 50 basis points.
Explain further on that.
Right. Gasoline prices have dropped dramatically, right?
Right.
And so that makes the overall number of CPI look like it's going down, right?
Right.
But it's not. If you take the gasoline prices out of it and you don't have that big drop in gasoline prices, inflation's actually gone up. So when you see on TV they talk about, well, inflation's falling. No, inflation's only falling if you include gasoline prices in it. If gasoline prices are not included, prices are going up, like rent, car prices, things like that.
Also, what did they say? The latest inflation rate is what, 4%?
It's like 4.5 on what's called the PCE, and then it's 5.5% on the actual headline CPI number.
But what they don't explain to people who are unaware of this, it's not 4%. The latest increase is 4% on top of the previous inflation figures, which brings.
That is correct.
So realistically, what's the inflation?
The inflation rate is compounding at roughly 5% per year. So,
Well, maybe we should go back a little further because prices are up more than 5%, as I remember from not too long ago. So if we go back a couple of years, isn't it more like 15, 20% over what we had been paying?
correct. There's a large increase in prices over the past several years, and people seem to not to ignore this. And the CPI numbers are actually kind of rigged to be lower because Social Security payments are actually based off the CPI numbers, the COLA adjustments for Social Security.
Right.
So it's in the government's best interest to always rig the CPI numbers to look as low as possible. So even though the government might report CPI only going up, let's say 2 or 3%, in reality, the money you actually spend might be going up 7 or 8%.
From 2.5 years ago when Biden took office, prices have gone way the hell up. I mean, cumulative, isn't it 15 or 20%?
Well, yeah, if you take 4% per year over the course of 3 years, yeah, that's a 12% increase in prices.
Yeah. So, or it seems like even more when you go to the grocery store or whatever.
Well, if you break it out, certainly you're correct. Certain items have actually gone up much more. Like home prices have gone up a lot more than that 12%. Food prices have gone up a whole lot more than that 12%. But because they put gasoline prices have plummeted so much here in the past year, that's making the CPI number look artificially low. But if you're looking at the total number, I'm saying you're looking at probably at least somewhere around maybe 13 to 14% on some items. And then other items, you can easily see a 20 to 25% increase. Anyone who's tried to go out and buy a used car has seen dramatic increases in the prices of used cars.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds more like it. Whenever I go shopping for anything, the prices are really shocking. So it's as high as 20% or more on some items, and
Right.
many other items, it's like between 15 and 20% in the last 2.5 years.
Correct. And probably if I had to even break it down on the stuff that nobody wants to buy, you're probably still seeing probably anywhere between a 5 to 6 to 7% increase on the stuff that's the lowest increases in the index.
Yeah. All right. Mark Collinsworth of Vere Global Financial Wealth Management. Thanks for being with us. And we'll be talking with you again about the Fed meeting in July and see if they continue the pause or hike the rate up again, at least a 0.25% is what they're predicting. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Larry.